Eric Clapton sat in an interview chair, calm and cold. When asked about Cream, his legendary band with Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker, he didn't flinch. "I don't miss Cream," he said with a shrug. No smile, no warmth, just distance. Fans couldn't believe it. Cream wasn't just any band. It was a supergroup that changed rock music. They were gods of the late 1960s. Sunshine of Your Love, White Room, and Crossroads weren't just hits, they were anthems. So why would Clapton, the heart of that band, say something so sharp? The truth runs deep, deeper than most know. Behind the wild solos and sold-out shows, Cream was a battlefield, not of guitars and drums, but of egos and tempers. Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker fought like sworn enemies. And Clapton? He was stuck in the middle, slowly drowning. From the outside, it looked like a dream. Three musical geniuses. But inside, it was chaos. Ginger Baker once said, "I never wanted to play with Jack again." Jack Bruce fired back. "Ginger's a madman." Clapton? He stayed quiet for years. Until now, his words weren't just a throwaway comment. They were a window into the pain he carried for decades. And now, he was finally speaking out. But to understand why he doesn't miss Cream, you have to go back to the beginning. In 1966, something magical and dangerous was born. Cream. Three of the most talented musicians in Britain joined forces. Eric Clapton from the Yardbirds and Mayall Bluesbreakers. Jack Bruce, the jazz-influenced bassist with a haunting voice. Ginger Baker, the wild drummer known for his explosive power. The press called them a supergroup. Fans went wild. The music was revolutionary. Blues, jazz, rock, all blended into something new, something bold, something untouchable. But within weeks, cracks began to show. Ginger and Jack couldn't stand each other. Their history was already toxic. They fought in earlier bands. Fist fights, screaming matches. Once, Baker even pulled a knife on Bruce. Clapton had hoped Cream would be a peaceful escape. Instead, it became a nightmare. He loved the music, but hated the tension. Rehearsals turned into shouting contests. Backstage was a war zone. The only time they found peace was on stage. And even that didn't last long. Still, they made magic. Albums like Disraeli Gears and Wheels of Fire became instant classics. Their live jams were electric. But fame made the fighting worse. The more popular they got, the more toxic the relationships became. By 1968, Clapton had had enough. At just 23 years old, he wanted out. Cream was tearing him apart. When the band split that year, fans were heartbroken. But Clapton? He felt relief. For him, it wasn't just the end of a band. It was escape from a personal hell. Years later, the pain hadn't faded. And when he said, "I don't miss Cream," it wasn't about the music, it was about the trauma. After Cream ended, Clapton didn't look back. He jumped into new projects, Blind Faith, Derek and the Dominos, and eventually a solo career that made him a legend on his own. Meanwhile, Bruce and Baker struggled. Jack fought health issues and depression. Ginger battled drug problems and moved to Africa, looking for peace in drumming circles far from the fame. They rarely spoke. And Clapton? He never reached out. In interviews, he always dodged Cream questions. When fans pushed for a reunion in the 70s, he said nothing. When journalists asked if he missed the old band, he'd change the subject. Something inside him was still broken. Then in 1993, something changed. Cream was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. For the first time in 25 years, the three men stood on stage together. They played Sunshine of Your Love. The world watched with hope. But backstage, it was cold. No warm hugs. No laughter. Just three ghosts standing in the same room, haunted by the same memories. Clapton later said, "It didn't feel right. It wasn't real. Whatever bond they had in the 60s was gone." And that moment proved something. Cream hadn't healed. And maybe it never would. In 2005, after decades of silence, Clapton shocked fans. He agreed to reunite Cream for a special series of shows at the Royal Albert Hall. Why now? Some said nostalgia. Others said guilt. But Clapton's real reason was simple: closure. The shows were powerful. Sold-out crowds. Cheers. Standing ovations. For a moment, it felt like 1968 again. But behind the music, the same ghosts followed them. Baker and Bruce argued over arrangements. Old wounds reopened. Clapton tried to keep things calm, but the tension crept back in. He later told a friend, "It felt like I was back in a prison I escaped." After the final night, he made a decision. No more Cream. No more pretending. When asked later if he missed it, he gave the answer that made headlines. "I don't miss Cream. Not the songs. Not the fights. Not the pain." To Clapton, Cream wasn't just a band. It was a reminder of everything he had to survive. Clapton's words echoed through the rock world. "I don't miss Cream." Some fans were hurt. Others were confused. But those close to him weren't surprised. Eric had been carrying the weight of Cream for years. Not just the music, but the emotional wreckage. The endless fights between Jack and Ginger had drained him. He often described himself as the child in a divorce, stuck between two adults at war. In private moments, he shared more. He admitted Cream had made him lose his love for music for a while. He told friends the energy of the band was all wrong. It wasn't creative. It was destructive. After Cream, Clapton went searching for peace, for silence, for music that healed instead of hurt. His work with Delaney and Bonnie, then his solo album, marked a softer turn. He began writing songs like Let It Grow and Wonderful Tonight, gentler, personal, raw. In many ways, Clapton had to unlearn Cream. He had to rediscover his identity. And that's something neither Jack nor Ginger ever really accepted. When Jack Bruce passed away in 2014, Clapton posted a short tribute. A few lines, kind but distant. Fans expected more. A speech, a heartfelt video. But Clapton stayed quiet. When Ginger Baker died in 2019, Clapton didn't even make a public statement. Just silence. He had made peace in his own way by walking away and never looking back. Today, people still call Cream one of the greatest rock bands of all time. Their albums continue to sell. Their live performances are studied by musicians across generations. But the legacy? It's complicated. For Jack Bruce, Cream was his greatest stage. He often spoke proudly of the music they made. Despite the fights, he believed Cream was his finest work. For Ginger Baker, it was more painful. He carried resentment. He often blamed Jack for the tension. And though he praised Clapton's guitar playing, he never truly forgave him for leaving. But for Clapton, Cream was something else entirely. A chapter of brilliance wrapped in bitterness. He once said, "The music was great, but everything around it was madness." Fans still debate. Was Clapton right to walk away? Could the band have lasted longer? Was a reunion too late? But Clapton never questioned his choice. He said the music they made was special, but the cost was too high. Peace, for him, was more important than fame. And in a world where so many rock legends burn out or crash, Clapton chose something different. He chose to live. There's a lesson buried in the story of Cream. A lesson about talent, ego, pain, and survival. Cream wasn't just about music. It was about three men locked in a storm they couldn't escape. Jack Bruce, a tortured genius. Ginger Baker, a fiery spirit with a short fuse. And Eric Clapton, a quiet soul searching for harmony in a sea of noise. Together, they created something unforgettable. But unforgettable doesn't always mean healthy. Sometimes, greatness is born from pain. But that doesn't mean the pain should be repeated. Clapton knew that. And when he said, "I don't miss Cream," it wasn't a dismissal of the past. It was a message. I survived. In the end, the story of Cream isn't just about music. It's about how even legends have limits. How fame doesn't fix old wounds. And how walking away, even from something beautiful, can be an act of strength. The music lives on. But the man behind the guitar, he's moved on. And maybe that's the most powerful note of all. Eric Clapton gave us the fire of Cream. Then he gave us the silence that followed. Some fans wish he would have stayed. Others understand why he left. But one thing is clear. Sometimes the hardest thing for a rock legend to do is not play. Because the loudest message isn't in the solos or the stadiums. It's in the words Clapton spoke quietly, but truthfully. I don't miss Cream. And maybe he never will.